Steve, I'm going to start by asking you about your attraction to the work, and did it come first because you wanted to make a film about slavery, or was it that you had read the memoir of Solomon Northup and you wanted to interpret that?
It came from wanting to make a film about slavery. As I said before, on many occasions recently, for me there was a hole in the canon of cinema, a huge hole. And that huge part of history was not on film. And I wanted to see it on film. I wanted to see that history. It was absent. There was a silence. And then I sort of, went through the idea of actually making a film about it, and I needed an in on the idea of making the film. And the in I had was a free man who had been kidnapped into slavery, and the audience as such goes with him on this sort of maze, this assault course of what slavery is. At that time, I got stuck. I was working with a writer called John Ridley, and then my wife said to me, well, why don't you look into true accounts of slavery? Sort of obvious thing to do. We did some research, and then she found this book called 12 Years a Slave. And she said to me, I think I got it. And was that a big understatement? And that was it. Every turn of the page was a revelation, and it was amazing. I mean, I was upset with myself. Why had I not known this book? I was a bit sort of disappointed with myself, but slowly I realized no one I knew this book. And it was written 97 years before Anne Frank's diary. And of course, living in Amsterdam, Anne Frank is all around you. And looking at this book, it was just almost like a parallel echo of what happened 79 years into the future from that book. And I just wanted to make it into film. It became my passion, really.
One of the things that is, I think, really remarkable about this interpretation is the fact that we get so many angles, not only on its central character, but also on the experience of women. And Lupita, I wondered if you could talk about how you became involved in the film, but also whether that was something that was of particular importance to you.
Well, I got involved by auditioning for the film. I was just about to graduate from the Yale School of Drama, and my manager saw the script for another client of hers, Garrett Dillahunt, who's also in the film and plays Armsby. And she saw the role of Patsy and thought I'd be good for it. And so I put myself on tape in New York. And then a week later, I was in LA and worked with Francine Maisler, the casting director, on another audition. And then finally, I was invited down to Louisiana to meet and work with Steve. So that's how I got involved. The next day, he called me and offered me the part. And I have never seen anything like this before. And I was surprised when I read the book how much I didn't know about slavery. And I'm sure many people feel that way. This is a time in history that we haven't really reflected on. And it's so important to have this because now we have a common vocabulary, a common experience from which to talk about it and hopefully begin a healing.
Chiwetel, can I ask you about the importance of the role of Solomon for you, and also how you worked with, I think there's an incredible kind of intimacy with your character in this film, and how did you work with Steve to achieve that?
I think we all just, went down the rabbit hole together. When I first read the script, it was almost as if I didn't see Solomon entirely. I saw a man going through an extraordinary journey, this incredible 12 years, but I didn't see Solomon initially. I didn't see him until later, until reading the biography and then reading the script again and then developing an understanding that this is a story that centers around this man and his attitude to life and his choices and how they inform him in this journey and how they help him through. And then working with Steve is really just to work with a masterful filmmaker, an incredible director with absolutely every department on a set and encouraging to the extreme. And we were able to talk about and reflect on how to connect to Solomon, how we would connect to him, how I would connect to him, and how hopefully an audience would then connect to him.
There's an incredible immediacy to it, I think, and an incredible contemporary relevance to it. And I wonder, Steve, was that as something that you were sort of exploring in parallel in terms of how did you tie it to today, in a sense? And also, if I could ask you to expand on those themes that I think are very prevalent in your work around, physical deprivation and the absence of choice, which we've seen in all three of your films in different ways.
Well, there's a constant reflection of parallels all the time, every day. This year seems to be a very poignant one, a very pivotal one. I mean, with the unfortunate killing of Trayvon Martin, having a black president in the United States, the 150th anniversary of the abolition of slavery, the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington, and the voting rights revoked in the United States. It's kind of made this kind of perfect storm for now, and I think that the timing of the film has been quite, it's the result of all these things happening in 1 year, and having the film out is quite a coincidence. Anyway, as far as the deprivation or whatever, I just try, the three films I've made so far, what I wanted to do as a filmmaker, all I want to do as an artist is just work with important subject matter. Hunger was, when we made the film, it was 27 years, it was 27 years before it happened in 1981. When we made the film, and it was almost like it was swept beneath the carpet. No one was talking about it. Similar situation with shame and sex addiction. It was one of those things. 80% or more of traffic on the internet is pornography, and this sort of this phenomenon of sexual addiction was just interesting to me. It was elephant in the room. It's there. It's deafening again, and of course, slavery. I mean, these things are very obvious to me. Because they are very obvious.